I'd say the satellite business is very, very important, but because we urgently need an alternative, for example, to Starlink. We cannot be dependent on what Elon Musk provides. I think all areas of space are ready for cooperation. If it comes to building satellites, exploring space, describing how you can reach moon missions, the launching business, whatever part of space business you take, we have very strong Japanese commitment and experience in that area. We have very strong German and especially Bremen experience in that area. So what we actually need is we have to know more about our strengths so that we can sort of learn from each other, also make business with each other. So it's very important that Japanese companies come to Bremen, to the Space Tech Expo, and as exhibitors taking part into discussions. And it's very important, vice versa, that companies from Bremen come here and take part in industrial fairs as well, so that we can sort of look what are the specific fields in space tech to cooperate. And I'd say the satellite business is very, very important, but because we urgently need an alternative, for example, to Starlink. We cannot be dependent on what Elon Musk provides. We have to find our autonomous system, and I think that's in the interest of Japan and in the interest of Europe. So that's one of the most important things, finding an alternative to Starlink. Now that's really a difficult topic because you see for decades Bremen has not only been a center for space and aerospace but also for defense industry, but we didn't talk about that much. Now things have changed, international situation has changed, and at the moment the defense industry in Bremen is gaining strength, and it's discussed more openly what to do with that. So the majority of our population, of our people now say, well, it's necessary to do more for defense, even if it costs us money, and it's necessary to have more international cooperation. You couldn't have that same kind of discussion 10 years ago. It would have been totally different. So now it's really a heatedly discussed topic. How can we how can we develop more international cooperation in the field of defense industry? And I think it's the same in Japan. I know your constitutional restraints, and I know that it is a big discussion in Japan as well, but as I get the impression, the topic and the discussion gets even more concrete about close cooperation in respect of defense industry. So there are two discussions now from Germany and from Japan meeting each other. And you mentioned the visit of Boris Pistorius. So I think we need cooperation in developing the means for our mutual defense, and because it's so expensive that you have to reduce costs by cooperating with each other, so that not everyone has developed the same kind of defense systems, but that we can help each other. Otherwise it would be too expensive. So cooperation really is necessary, and it's a bit of that's sort of the bad point about it. Necessary it is, because our relationship has changed a bit to the United States. You can't rely as much on the United States that you could 10 years ago. So talking about autonomy, political, this is also something that we need in the defense sector. Well, that's really that's the $1,000 question, is it? Because almost everywhere in the world, birth rates are declining. It's the case in Asia, not only in Japan. It's the case in Europe. It's not that much the case in the US, but also a bit. And so, not in Africa though, but most of the world we experience declining birth rates. And there's not really one explanation for that, because if something happens in so many countries at the same time, there cannot be one explanation. And in a way, it's a global trend. It's really hard to change it from a national perspective. So I think there are two things we have to admit. First thing is, of course, it's possible to make a policy for more births and supporting families and creating structures where both partners in a relationship can work, especially where women can work as well, even if they have children, even if they're small children. So that's sort of necessary to compensate for the demographic decrease of the population, and to reduce unemployment even further, so that we have more people working. But nevertheless, at the moment, Germany is about losing 400,000 people of the workforce each year. And I think in Japan it's a decrease of almost 1 million people each year of population. So that really has consequences. So you can try to change that, but that's a hard path. So there have to be two other things. First thing is, we have to think about migration, not as a solve of every problem, because migration brings its own problems, and a lot of people don't like migration. And but on the other hand, in a way, it's necessary for modern societies to allow people to come into the country, to work here and to live here. If we don't allow that, that's really a problem. But I don't want to deny that there are problems related to it. So it's a bit of that you have to find an intelligent way to allow migration on the one hand, and on the other hand, to make a policy that you can cope with the problems related. If a lot of people come to your country that don't know the language and so on, but nevertheless, we need an intelligent, in a way, positive attitude to migration. I think that's without alternative. And the third thing is, yes, in a way, we have to learn to live and to organize our countries with a shrinking population. I mean, to be honest, that will be, in most cases, in most countries, will be the future. And so there's no sense in closing your eyes and pretending this is not happening. But you have to make yourself honest and to have a pragmatic look at it. And that means organizing your society in a way that is able to cope with the shrinking population. So that's actually the three things: trying to do something against it, develop a realistically pragmatic attitude to migration, and the third thing is just look for ways how to organize your society in a scenario where the number of inhabitants and citizens goes down. So I think that's the realistic scenario.